Our webinar, Protecting Your Endpoints from Day Zero Attacks. My name is Paul Cody. I am Tower's Cybersecurity Program Manager, and I am going to be your presenter today. The reason for this specific webinar is we have been receiving a number of requests from our customers to explain some specific tactics, technologies and identifiers for zero-day attacks. So what is a zero-day attack? It's something that's never been seen before. Stands to reason, but this will become quite a major topic as we proceed through these slides. Normally it's a variation on an existing threat. It's something that's happened in the past, but it has been changed ever so slightly. It also avoids signature-based detection. Signature-based detection is the type of technique that is used very commonly with your antivirus products. So, why are they relevant? We're seeing, as we will demonstrate in some of the future slides, a great resurgence in zero-day attacks. This is because of a generational gap where we've lost skills in the frontline engineering services that were previously very knowledgeable about zero-day attacks, who have now gone on to other roles and other jobs within organizations. The core issue is with that generational gap, a lot of the new engineers are only just getting used to what a zero-day attack is and how it manifests itself. A lot of the time, zero-day attacks are targeted. They are targeted at your organization, at an employee type, for example, MDs, PAs, or HR representatives, and they are targeted with a knowledge of the type of outcome that the hacker wants. They're also of a high impact to your business. Some of the zero-day attacks will commonly ask you for some sort of ransom. Some will just be an annoyance to your business. But in any event, there will be downtime, there will be loss. If you think how long it takes to image a machine, how much that costs you, this all needs to be factored in when you are looking at your protection process for zero-day attack. So, why is my current AV not good enough? So you've purchased a full antivirus package. You looked at the scenarios 18 months, 2 years ago, and you bought top of the range. You bought something that's there and adequate to protect you. What we are now seeing is that a lot of these antivirus products that have been purchased are signature-based. Signature-based means that they look for something that is known. As we've already just covered in the presentation, these are not known viruses. They have been slightly changed in such a way that they will bypass a standard signature-based antivirus. Once they have been detected by other means and they have been reported back to organizations such as VirusTotal, signatures are recorded and then updated. But the issue is, for the period between an attack and when the signature becomes available, if you only have signature-based antivirus, you are vulnerable. One of the traits of having a signature-based analysis is there is no behavioral analysis on any of your systems. So, in short, what this means is instead of looking for a signature, which is like an index from a library, what you are looking for is the behaviors that are taking place on your machine. So, as an example, would you expect a PDF file to try and FTP data away from your site? Would you expect it to be sending data to a third party on the internet? The answer is probably not. This is a non-technical version of one of the traits that are looked for, but there are many others. You look at Excel files, you look at executables. We also look with behavioral analysis at what is happening on the actual computer itself. So, why is this all important? It's never happened to many of you. The problem that we have here is hacking is now becoming a commodity. The imagery we're using here, we're using intentionally. Hacking tends to be seen as somebody in a bedroom creating mischief. Now what we're seeing with hackers, they are very much criminal organizations. They're not there to make mischief, they're there to make money. Attacks now can be bought off the shelf on the dark web for less than $3,000 or 3,000 euros. The suppliers of these attacks can also host the attacks from compromised systems that they have. So, in short, what you have here is a criminal who can go to a third-party shop, purchase a customized attack that has never been seen before, and also launch that attack for the criminal. That makes this a very low-risk activity for a criminal, and all they need is one positive response, and they have paid for this attack. Trends. We have seen recently, and these are just an element of part of zero-day attacks. This is information provided by Intel Security. And you can see on the chart over 2014 and 2015 a significant increase in malware in just one section, that being Microsoft Office macros. The trend is the same across all sectors where zero-day are found. So they can be PDFs, they can be JPEGs, they can be any other number of file types. However, what we are seeing is a trend upwards which is significant and is catching people off guard because they are not protected from this trend. So what's the purpose of these attacks? Why are they targeting me? What's the issue? Many attacks that we're getting now are ransomware. So ransomware, basically its task is to disable some core files on your systems, normally by use of some sort of cryptography. Many of you will be familiar with the term crypto locker. This is where somebody who has an infection on their machine, as soon as they access a file system that they are permitted to see, that file system becomes encrypted. Then a little pop-up comes up saying, please contact this website and pay X amount of €1,000 in Bitcoin. As I said earlier, one successful attack and the whole attack is paid for. Two, and they're in profit. I know that a number of you will almost certainly have received requests such as this for ransoms. You then have to clean your machine, your infected machine. You have to contain the outbreak. You have to re-image, restore files, and hope that you haven't had any service interruption. Other common purpose, ID theft. So, again, many of us will be familiar with Dridex, which is a banking variant, where the whole objective is to actually monitor the activity on a machine and steal identities. These identities are then sold on the dark web, and credit card numbers, credit card usernames, PIN numbers, these are all traded openly. Targeted intellectual property. Many organisations in the UK are involved in research. They have intellectual property which is developed, which has commercial sensitivity and also commercial value. We have seen a marked increase in the number of targeted threats and targeted attacks, which are predominantly from organised criminal gangs or even state-sponsored. We're seeing quite a lot of Chinese state-sponsored attacks, and these are very difficult to identify and eradicate. So, prevention techniques. What can I do to stop myself from being infected? Some of these things are very, very basic. The first thing that you've got to look at is risk mitigation. Before you start talking about any technologies, any endpoint protection, you must understand what the risk is that you carry with the information that you have within your organization. You have to profile it. You have to classify it. If you understand what a would-be hacker or a would-be criminal is actually looking to steal from you, you will be a good deal down the way to actually preventing it from being stolen. You need effective policies in place. Now, policies affect end users, and there is a balance between your policy, between openness and security. So, do I give my end users access to webmail? Do I give my users access to YouTube? Do I allow the use of USB sticks? All of these may have perfectly legitimate business uses. However, you need to strike a balance between what is a valid business purpose and what is the risk of infection to the system and damage to the system. You must also then test these policies and these profiles. This is absolutely vital. Threat landscapes change all the time. So if you don't test and you don't review and you don't modify, you will again develop extra risks that are not necessary. Absolutely key is education. Many years ago, when zero-day attacks first started to appear, people were very embarrassed because they thought that it was their fault, and frequently they were blamed by the IT department for going to inappropriate sites or making silly mistakes. The sophistication of these attacks now is such that you cannot blame any individual for actually being a victim of one of these threats. The sophistication is such that people will clone websites, people will make very convincing emails, and again, some of these may slip through your current signature-based protection, but please do not blame the staff. If you blame the staff, all that will happen is they will cease to tell you when they have been compromised, and then you are already losing the battle against zero-day. Technical deployments. This is the bit you all expect me to talk about, being from a technology company. There are two ways that you can protect yourself from zero-day attacks. The approach that you take will very much depend on the way that you consume IT. So the two main techniques are sandboxing and behavioural analysis. Sandboxing effectively puts a a virtual machine on your endpoint device. So if you are affected by a zero-day attack, it will only be, the only place where it will be affected will be in that virtual world. This means that should you actually get an infection in this virtual world, it's very easy to clear out the virtual world, create a new one without affecting any of the core systems and core behaviors on your machine. One of the drawbacks to sandboxing is almost all products that provide sandboxing techniques and technologies require connection to either a network-based threat analysis box or a cloud analysis service. So they either need to be connected to your internal network or they need to be connected to the internet. Behavioral analysis looks at a low level at what is happening on your machine. And whilst it does not have the same prevention rate as sandboxing, it does allow you to contain any payloads that sneak through the net on your machine until you get back onto the internet or your core network. So typically, if you have an engineer who is frequently on the client site or completely out of contact with any sort of office or internet connection, behavioral analysis is the type of technique that you would use to protect your core assets from being impacted. So sandboxing is a prevention technique. Behavioral analysis is more of a containment technique. So, prevention technologies. As the famous saying goes, other technologies are available, but we will mention a couple. The technologies that we're about to take you through are designed to show you the difference between sandboxing and behavioral analysis. They are not in any way designed to be shown as any sort of market leader. There's a lot of work that you have to do with your account management to decide which is the right product for you. But we've chosen these and have utilized some of their core diagrams just to explain how the process works. So, sandboxing. We have a product which can be used in conjunction with McAfee and many other antivirus products called BufferZone. BufferZone is a sandboxing technique where basically it creates a virtual machine on your endpoint device. So if you are utilizing a browser, if you're utilizing removable media, if you are utilizing email, when you have BufferZone in place, it first takes all of this information through the virtual machine. In the case of BufferZone, BufferZone also allows you to store that information permanently in that virtual machine should you wish. To the user, it's completely transparent. However, should you be infected, it means that the impact is very, very limited. Into the buffer zone, you can connect several different device types from the trusted corporate network. And again, if you need to transfer things out of the corporate environment, you can do so via the buffer zone environment. So, behavioral. Now, many of you will have been familiar with the sandboxing technique, but won't be familiar with behavioral. So let's try and explain this a little more fully. Traps is a product that is provided by Palo Alto. Now, Palo Alto do not have a signature-based endpoint antivirus technology. So they are purely looking at behavioral protection. So in this example, a user has been sent an infected PDF. This is what they call the weaponized payload. Traps takes this product and technically injects it with some of its own anti-malware code, and it is trained to inspect it for any sort of malicious activity. When you are looking at on a behavioral level, there are commonly only 12 different exploits. All of these 12 exploits, at least one of these 12 exploits will be found in 99% of the signature-based malware which is identified in your current antivirus platform. What we are doing here is we are looking at those behaviors. So if we can inject the PDF or whatever other document type it is, if we can see that exploit technique, it will be prevented from executing. After that PDF has passed that stage, it will try to execute on the processor. And at that point, there's a very low overhead application which looks in detail at the behavior on the machine. So it's looking for techniques such as buffer underrun, stack overflow, all of these things that are common to malware attacks. The other thing that it is looking for is context. So should a PDF be sending any information back to the internet? Well, by definition, a PDF is a read-only document for you to read. It should not actually be sending anything back out onto the internet. So at this point, traps will intersect that this exploit is actually live and happening, but will prevent it from progressing any further. Hence, the threat is contained. So whilst you may have an infection on your machine, you have neutralized any data exfiltration by the fact that the control sequence has been disturbed. After that, traps will collect data and will send it back to its wildfire system. That will then in turn be reported and become signature based within a short period thereafter. Now, as I say, other products are available. We have products from Checkpoint, we have products from Intel, all of which will help you on this journey. But what is very, very important is, and the main reason for this presentation, that you understand the difference between signature-based, zero-day, and when you're in zero-day, how to actually manage that zero-day attack, whether it be by some sort of sandboxing or behavioral analysis. Now, I hope that this has actually given you some sort of insight at a high level into how zero-day attacks are working. We're not seeking to go into detail on here. We're not seeking to talk about the low-level technicalities. What we need you to do is understand where your threats are. Understand that your signature base is no longer going to protect you. And if you haven't been attacked by zero-day, I think based on the statistics we have seen, you can count yourself lucky at the moment, but it's only a matter of time. So, questions, we're going to be sending a feedback form and we would welcome any questions back. If you have any specific concerns, you can by all means contact your account manager or respond on the feedback and I will get back to you. But we hope that you have enjoyed this presentation and we would like to thank you for your attendance, and we will be placing this presentation on our YouTube channel soon after this completion of this event. Many thanks for your time.